All right, we're back at it. Thank you so much for joining me today on the My Bourbon Journey Whiskey Review channel. Today we're taking a look at something, as you'll see as we go through it, something I think is going to be a pretty special rye whiskey, and one I think more people probably need to pay a little bit more attention to, not only this distillery, but this whiskey in particular. So what is it? From Frey Ranch Distilling Company, this is going to be their 100% Winter Rye, straight rye whiskey, non-chill filtered, bottled in bond, comes in at 100 proof, 50% ABV. Again, like I said before, this is going to be a 100% Winter Rye, and it is age stated as 5 years. So we know that the minimum age within this is going to be 5 years old. Comes in at a pretty friendly MSRP of right around $60. So I think in today's day and age, of some of these quality whiskeys, especially some of what we consider craft distilleries, you're going to see, I think ultimately this needs to be on your radar. So, all right, let's go ahead and get into it. And as you can see, you kind of shine it up here a little bit in the light. Really, really nice, kind of like deep amber copper type of color. Move it around the glass. Again, it's non-chill filtered, so you're going to be left with a lot of those esters, things along those lines. Stuff that will help to translate over to the palate for a little bit more of that flavor to kind of be, spread around on the palate. So, all right, let's go and get in the nose. Oh man, it's just one of those things, like right away you get that sweet, rich, like oak that's there. Really nice fresh caramel note. Oh man. Really nice fresh mint. That's one thing I would say. Overall, it smells very like high quality so far. Maybe even a little bit of an herbal characteristic, maybe something like a green tea. I don't think it's quite as pungent as a black tea. It's a little bit softer, and maybe that Winter Rye is maybe something that lends itself to that characteristic where it's not like a super dominant or pungent rye whiskey. Maybe like a fresh, like orchard fruit, something along the lines of like maybe an apple, something like that, maybe pear. Definitely the rye grain starts to come through a little bit more, but it's still soft. It's a little bit more subtle. It's not so pungent, even with it being 100% rye. Maybe a little bit of a tobacco note. Definitely more mint. That mint really starts to shine. Really nice baking spice. That's one thing that as this opens up, and again, I've allowed this to open up for maybe about 5 or 10 minutes prior to the review, just to kind of let some, air get in there, kind of do its thing, and it's starting to open up really nicely. But yeah, really nice baking spices. And I would say something about like a fresh ground coffee. There's something there that's just like that. You get that really nice kind of morning fresh ground coffee aspect. But very oily. As I move the whiskey around the glass a little bit, it's coating the glass. I mean, it is all over it. So fantastic. I love to see that non-chill filtered, all of that. What they're doing is incredible. So, all right, let's go ahead and get into the review. So right away, again, that really nice, fresh mint aspect that's there. No dill, not a huge dill fan in the rye whiskey types of things. So when I get that nice mint or spearmint, really enjoy that in a rye whiskey. Here's something interesting right off the bat. I get a little bit of like a carrot cake aspect. So you get a little bit of that kind of like vanilla frosting, but the spicy cake factor. So if you've had or enjoy carrot cake, you know that the cake part of it can have those really nice baking spices, things along those lines, with a little bit of that kind of vanilla frosting that's there. Maybe a slight nutty characteristic that's there. Definitely some leather notes. Those just kind of started to pop up a little bit. It's very It's very deep. There's like some viscosity to it, mouth coating. It's creamy, coats the mouth again very well. Again, maybe a little bit of a citrus note that's there as well. It's more of a more of like an orange, maybe even a little touch of like lemon. There's a tartness that's there on this one. Some nice caramel notes. More of like a really fresh caramel. So if you've ever gotten nice warm caramels before, that's a little bit more of that richness aspect that's there. It's very, I guess how I would like classify it is like kind of fall in a glass. There's a lot of those fall aspects to it. Definitely some leather notes that are there. Maybe a slight amount of dryness, not a ton at all. It's just the one thing or a couple of things that kind of keep resonating is how creamy it is, oily, very mouth coating. So that's something that's very good in terms of a whiskey that's going to, you know, kind of translate into having a lot of flavor that's there. So, you know, and the one thing I would say with the rye grain, it's soft, but it's present. It's not overly pungent like you'll get with some of those rye whiskeys. And again, maybe that winter rye that's there, maybe there's just something about that or the quality of the grain that's allowing it to be present, but not dominant. Still some of those lingering mints are definitely there. And I would say like even, you know, as you kind of, you know, sip on it, I think a little bit more of the chocolate aspect starts to come out a little bit. Some dark fruits, maybe more of like a raisin note. It's very interesting. It's very complex in terms of what this rye whiskey has to offer, considering it's all one grain or 100% of one grain. So you don't have a barley or a corn or anything along those lines. You've got that straight 100% winter rye, which is very, very interesting. And sometimes those 100% ryes can go a lot of different directions. You know, for me, you know, in the past, I've not always appreciated a 100% rye, you know, just because of, I think, them being often a little bit pungent. And this is not like that at all. There's the complexity, the richness, the sweetness. So there's a lot of layers and it's balanced very well. The mint part of it has lingered with the nice baking spice. Again, kind of going back to that carrot cake aspect. Again, very fall in the glass. Very, very nice rye whiskey. And again, at around $60, again, you can find this, I believe, through their distillery or their partner that they have. So they do some shipping across the United States. I'll have a link in the description below as to where you can find this rye whiskey. Feel free to pick it up. If you do, try it. Let me know your thoughts. I would love to hear some feedback on that. Finish wise, I'd say is probably all of medium plus. Again, that lingering mint, the nice chocolate, some dark fruits, a little bit more of that like kind of raisin aspect that's there. Definitely some of those mints. The mint has been present throughout the entire, you know, kind of experience with this. So I think overall, it's definitely something from a recommendation standpoint. I would highly encourage people to give this whiskey a try. If you've either not heard of them or you weren't aware that Frey Ranch had you know, something different than bourbon, definitely give this a try. I think it has an awful lot to offer, and I think it would still be a rye whiskey that could fall into the category for someone who may not be overly you know, interested in rye whiskeys. I think this would fall into that category of somebody who you could kind of give this to and would be very approachable and they may appreciate this. So there you have it. I think, again, this is definitely a 100% buy from my recommendation. I think it offers an awful lot of value for what it is. The bottle's fantastic. If you've ever picked up anything from Frey Ranch, that cork that they've got in there is incredible. It's like a brass or bronze cork that they have in there, incredible. So I think Frey Ranch overall is doing some incredible things. So definitely go give them a look. Again, I'll have a link in the description below as to where you can maybe find this rye whiskey. So there you have it, Frey Ranch Distilling Company. Again, this is their 100% Winter Rye. Again, MSRP right around $60. So I want to say thank you so much for joining me today on the My Bourbon Journey Whiskey Review channel. If you'd like to follow me, you can on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all of those places at My Bourbon Journey. If you'd like to help support the channel or become part of the Mash and Journey Whiskey Club, consider joining that. I'll have a link in the description below to the Patreon for that. So with that, I want to say thank you so much again for joining me today. And as always, it's about the journey and not the destination. Cheers.